It's Mayor Jim Brainard and running for mayor, Rick Sharp.
Oh, that's me. Okay.
Seeing that Mr. Brainard has chosen not to attend, Rick will follow the same rules. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself, followed by you have to answer the questions that have been provided.
Is the camera range basically standing there? Okay.
Good evening. I want to first thank the Legion for making this effort, providing this venue for us. I want to thank the Carmel Clay GOP Club. I'm one of you. I think that it's a vital function that this club performs in Clay Township and the city of Carmel. And I'm proud to be a member, and I'm proud to be here tonight. One of the reasons I'm here, and I want to start with that before I move in to tell you a bit about myself. I think many of you know a good deal about me, but it's always good to leave no stone unturned. I'm here because I made a commitment over 2 months ago that I put this event on my calendar, and I have planned all along. I had another event earlier this evening, and I cut it short and walked out so that I could be here because I think commitments are important. And I think the opportunity to speak to the core of our party is important. So I'm Rick Sharp. I grew up in Hollywood, Florida. Went to the University of Florida. I graduated in 1978, majoring in political science. I received my degree in 2011. That's a fun story, but I'm not going to waste my time telling it to you tonight. My wife Susan and I moved here in 1992. We raised our 3 daughters in Carmel. Our oldest daughter, Sarah, is a graduate of Furman University and the University of Florida School of Law and practices law in Tampa. Our middle daughter, Brenna, graduates on the weekend after the selection with a Bachelor of Fine Arts from IU with an emphasis in photography. And our youngest daughter is suffering through the throes of finals in her sophomore year at George Washington University in D.C., where she is double majoring in dance and communications. Got involved in Carmel life almost immediately. Have served as the president of 2 neighborhood associations, served on the Plan Commission, served on the Carmel Development Commission for 6 years. I've been on the council. This is my 12th year, and I have been president of the council 6 times in those 12 years. I'm running for this office because I love this city. It's the city where we raised our family, and it is a city where the mayor, through his vision, has created something new over what was here when we moved here in 1992. And the mayor should be very proud of what he's accomplished, but I believe that his fiscal policies put our future at risk. And that's what I want to change about Carmel, not our future, not our direction. I want to change fiscal policies to ensure that future and actually protect Mayor Brainard's legacy.
What's your opinion on
Mayor Brainard?
what is your position on Carmel becoming a second-class city?
I am against it at this time, and it's a policy that I've held to for a long time. And I will tell you why. I think that regardless of who is mayor, and I would hold the same opinion when I'm mayor, I think that we need an independent elected clerk treasurer. I think that that's important for the financial health of this city and for transparent government. There are many times that the council has learned things only because we have an independent clerk treasurer's office who has shared information with us. I would support lobbying with the legislature to change the status, change the statute regarding second-class city to allow a city that elects that status to choose whether or not they wish to continue to have an elected clerk treasurer. Conversely, I would also be willing to support a change in the legislature to have third-class cities be capable of choosing to elect a 9-member council. I think the greater representation is great. I think that the loss of independence is dangerous.
What is the debt of city divided between the city's general budget, utilities, and the redevelopment commission?
Oh, I don't know. I don't parse the numbers like that. And I don't have notes nor electronic objects that I'm going to refer to. Let's just talk a real simple number. Where does my number come from? My number comes from the state of Indiana, Department of Local Government Finance. You can create the report yourself online. You want to look at the total indebtedness of the city because that's what matters. What are we going to pay? So this is the kind of mayor you're going to get. This is a mayor who's going to tell you, this is what we've got, and here's my plan for how we're going to address it. We owe almost $1 billion. The mayor cherry picks the debt and decides what we're going to talk about. Maybe, I don't even know where this number comes from. Maybe we're only talking about the debt that's covered by property taxes or code. I have no idea. The debt I'm worried about is none of those. The debt I'm worried about is the almost $500 million that the CRC racked up on their own. $187 million and growing is now your responsibility if the revenue is not there to pay for it. That's why I'm running for mayor, because this is an issue that has to be addressed. We have to stop kicking the can down the road and hoping that the next generation of Carmel citizens and leaders can figure it out. We need to figure it out now.
Recognizing that Carmel is a very wealthy community in comparison to others, do you believe it would make sense to pay for development costs as they are incurred, rather than deferring these costs to the future taxpayers? What is your opinion?
I've given this answer on another topic before. I'm not a one-size-fits-all kind of manager. So really I have to evaluate what's the project that we're looking at, what's the investment that's necessary, how much of it really should be the city's responsibility. That's a key question that too often these days is not examined in the rush to get the next shiny new project done. I'm all for growth and development, and my entire record speaks to that. But as I've talked earlier, or I've said before, I want to balance how we grow this city. I want to balance where the costs are paid. I want to balance where our priorities are between continuing with the new growth and new development, which I will promote, but I also will promote taking care of older neighborhoods. It's too often we are giving lip service to neighbors saying, we've got a plan, we've got a plan, we've got a plan, until the neighborhood explodes in frustration, and then the word gets out, we don't have a plan. And we just had that happen with a neighborhood here in Carmel. They made the front page of the paper in a way we don't want to make the front page of the paper. So I would hope that I will use, or I will show, good judgment that's brought about by my 12 years involved in city government and my 37 years in private business.
Real quick, there's some of these questions that people have submitted refer to quotes, and because I can't substantiate them, I don't feel comfortable asking them. So I apologize if I neglect your question, but without some of them saying what the current mayor has said and what some news sources have said, without being able to substantiate them, I don't want to ask them. Rick, why hasn't 96 and Keystone been started?
We don't have the money. I mean, that's the simplest answer. It's when the mayor announced 5 weeks ago or so, which was nothing more than a campaign announcement, just as yesterday's failed news conference was nothing more than a campaign event. He announced tens of millions of dollars of projects on the east side, and then a week later he followed up with the 96th and Keystone unveiling. And when he was asked by a reporter, how are you going to pay for this, the answer he gave was one I'd never heard before. We have capacity. And a reporter asked me what I thought about that, and I said, I don't know what that means. I know what cash means. We don't have any to speak of. I mean, we've got a rainy day fund, thanks to Lucy Snyder, who's in the room, and Diana Cordray in Maine for building that up. But that's $8 million that we need to hold on to as our savings account. We don't have credit. We've got AA plus credit, but we don't have any revenue that we could use to back up a bond. So I want to be a realist. So again, I said I'm not a one-size-fits-all guy. There are modern 21st century traffic control systems that could alleviate the rush hour bottleneck at 96th and Keystone for a fraction of the cost of a roundabout that is not going to be $40 million. It will be $100 million, because one thing Jim Brainard has taught me, he's a master at getting the camel's nose under the tent.
Using the Performing Arts Center as an example, the revenues generated by city assets that are not covered by the obligations, what's your opinion on the taxpayers funding the shortfalls? Brookshire Golf Course being another example.
Well, Brookshire Golf Course, I truly believe, is an asset in the city that we need to preserve. And I also think with the closing of 2 local golf courses this year, I think Brookshire's time has come. So I'm hoping that we won't be funding deficits there any longer. And that will be my number one goal for any asset of the city, is that we work hard to develop either great revenue, or we develop, in the case of the Palladium, an endowment. I will work closely with the foundation. And I believe that we can make some real inroads, particularly when we have a new administration. There have been some hard feelings with the arts community in Indianapolis. We could have politicked this a little bit better when we decided to build our Performing Arts Center. So we'll do it on the back end. I will work as hard as I know how with those people to raise the money for an endowment. When we built that hall, we were told it's going to have to be subsidized, $300,000 to $600,000 a year. It's ballooned to several $1 million a year. And that's not the fault of the foundation. It's the fault of the expert who advised us. And we have found out since then that he's left a litter of broken dreams across the country in this regard.
Last night, questions of financial transparency and transparency in general were brought up. For the current mayor, why aren't, and for the mayoral candidate, would you start airing these sorts of forums on the public access channel? None of the 4 forums this year have been aired on Carmel's public TV channel.
I think that it's not a criminal offense, Judge, but I think it's a crime that these forums have not been aired on the public access channel, all of them, because the people of Carmel deserve the opportunity to make an informed decision. And we're a spoon-fed age. We don't want to work too hard for our information, but we want to get the information pumped to us. That's one way that I think we could do it. So, yeah, I would support that wholeheartedly. Those of you who know me or have paid attention to me through the years in political office know that I am nothing but about transparency. I'll tell tales on myself, because I think you need to know how your government works, how decisions are made, where your money's being spent. Quick example right now, there is a records request in at the mayor's office for over 40 days right now. You'd think a pretty simple request. Could you provide your official calendar and your travel schedule for the last 3 years? Got ignored for 10 days, then was sent a link to where he could download the request form from the city's website and submit it to the city attorney, made a follow-up with the city attorney, and was told you'll get your answer in due time. When I'm mayor, if you want my calendar or a lot of other things, just call us up. We'll get it together for you. I know there's a point in time when an attorney has to look at something before we release it, but for goodness sakes, what's on the travel schedule and the calendar that needs review from the city attorney?
There has been a lot of chatter about debt. Without getting into specific numbers, aren't there benefits to incurring debt for redevelopment?
Oh, absolutely. There's limits, though. And that's what I think we've reached. When you are at a point where your revenue is insufficient to meet your debt, I think you went a bridge too far. When you have to take other revenue sources to backstop that debt, I think you've gone a bridge too far. It's amazing to me that the mayor is praising the retention of the Parkwood tip, and it's being sequestered to backstop the debt, something that he fought tooth and nail 2 years ago. And it was only the fortitude of Eric and Lucy and Carol and me, and, to be fair, Kevin Reiner, that we were able to sequester that money to protect you. 6 months after that deal, the mayor was meeting with Lucy and me, trying to get us to agree to give him the money so he could do a $20 million bond, and we said absolutely not. So when you put yourself in a position that you've got solid debt, real debt, bond issues we have to pay on, and you took those out based on projected growth, you're in a position where 100% of your projections have to be right 100% of the time, or the taxpayer gets to be in trouble. That's why I'm most concerned about the CRC debt. That's the debt of that nearly $1 billion that bothers me the most. Debt that was taken on by unelected people. And by the way, yes, I agreed to the $80 million to build the Palladium, both on the CRC and the council. How we got to a $175 million arts complex is you'd have to ask the people who were on the CRC about that. So I will still look to build Carmel. I actually think I've outlined for people a more aggressive economic development program than the current administration has, because I realize that growing Carmel's economic base is the best way I can protect you from that tax increase.
I've got a question about where the State Board of Accounts 2014 audits from somebody. I know those have not been returned yet, to answer your question. But a question that was raised last night was, would you be in favor of a third-party audit for the city's finances?
Well, first of all, I would address the State Board of Accounts. The supplemental audits are complete. They are ready for release. It's just that Diane and I can't talk about it because we're under an embargo, a confidentiality agreement. There's a 10 business day period from the point they have their exit interview with us until they make the report public. I can tell you I don't think you'd see any surprises based if you've looked at past audits. I think I'm safe saying that. I think that, well, first of all, I support the Clerk Treasurer's call to have an independent audit of the Redevelopment Commission. It still remains masked and shrouded in mystery. I've been trying to find out a simple answer since the 7th of April regarding limestone that I thought that we had bought. And I finally got an answer yesterday. Now I'm waiting to find out the answer on storage of it. I think that, especially when you consider that we've had one-person rule, or governance if you prefer, for 20 years, that it would not be beyond the pale to do a thorough audit of the city. Anytime that you have a corporate turnover of such a long tenure, that's pretty much standard practice. Although, I would point out to you, those of you who are in business, you won't find a Fortune 100, a 500, or certainly a 100 that would have a CEO for more than 10 years. Generally, it's 5 to 7 years and a plan to transition. We're 4 times overdue for our transition.
Candidate for Mayor, Rick Sharp.